70% of adults in America have suffered from some sort of trauma. In 2018, 22,491 refugees migrated to the United States. All 22,491 of them suffered. Hi, my name is Anna Lafreniere, and for my senior project, I wanted to learn about how therapeutic writing helps to process and grow from traumatic experiences, and I wanted to take it a step further and learn how to write about someone else's experiences to help raise awareness and inspire empathy. In order to do this, I decided to talk to refugees and new Americans and their experiences before coming to the United States. Before I talk about the details of my project and my research, I want to show you what it means to be a refugee. Being a refugee is an individual outside of their country, and as well as asylum seekers and internally displaced persons, they fear persecution due to their race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or social group. The main difference between refugees and asylum seekers are that refugees have to wait outside of the United States, sometimes for years in extremely difficult conditions. Asylum seekers have to request and wait inside of the country they want asylum in. Once I understood the differences between these three classifications, I wanted to share what the refugees shared with me and write a story about their experiences. I've always been a very empathetic person, so I know that feeling someone's pain causes a strong urge to want to help. Writing for me has always been an easier way to understand my emotions, and it's been more beneficial for me to write rather than keep them inside. I remember in first grade when my teacher gave back the creative writing stories we had written and told me that one day I was going to become a writer. That stuck with me. So I combined my love for writing and my urge to help with this project and hoped that it would be the beginning of a big endeavor. In my research, I found that psychiatrists had already been studying the effect of therapeutical writing and getting over traumatic experiences. A study done by Karen Bakey and Kay Wilhelm, they took participants to write for 15 to 20 minutes, 3 to 5 times a week for 6 weeks, and found that the people who wrote about stressful or traumatic experiences had significantly better physical and I can't even remember how to say it right now. Psychological health over those who wrote about neutral topics. Another study done by Tartakovsky found that writing traumatic experiences allows writers to see new perspective, find the silver lining and the new meaning in the most stressful or negative experiences. It also allows to see insight that would otherwise be difficult without that focused writing. Considering refugees come from difficult backgrounds with little or no education, I wanted to help them do it. I wanted to help them find that insight and be able to see the silver lining. So when I decided to talk to refugees, I knew I had to talk to my mom since she works at an immigration law firm. I was able to talk to Ashol Deng, who graciously spoke and shared her story with me, allowing me to share it with you. Both of us hoping to reach people so they would understand what she and people like her have to go through. Ashol is from Sudan. Ashol lives in Sudan, but her family is from South Sudan. And Sudan used to be united as one country, but the North was oppressing the South, so civil war broke out. And because of the civil war, they did not want to fight their own people, and they wanted to flee. But since they had a 2-year-old son and Ashol was expecting, they had to wait for the baby to be born, and they were forced to flee to Egypt and stay for 2 years. Ashol shared why she had to flee. She said, whoever doesn't want to go to war is against the government, and if you're against the government, you're in trouble. Ashul's family is Christian, and they're on the Arab side of Sudan. And she says that if you're the minority, you feel like you have no rights. You are no one here. She also said, when you are in war and when you have an enemy, they follow you no matter what. So they were forced to flee. But coming to the US was not easy. She had to face cultural, language, and climate difficulties, and leaving her family behind was not easy. There are volunteer organizations that help refugees get settled in their new city or town within the United States. The program that assisted Ashul settle in New Hampshire is the International Institute of New England, which is where I volunteered to help teach English as second languages and help with childcare. The International Institute of New England offers support groups for newcomers. Among those groups is a program for new mothers, childcare, language classes, job search, and teaching women's rights, since most of the women who come here are mistreated or have very few rights. The International Institute of New England volunteers prepared Ashul's apartment for her family and provided her with food, warm clothes, child support, and taught her English. I couldn't take any pictures of the kids in there, but that is the classroom in the institute. And this is where all the volunteers had to learn how to volunteer and fundraise efficiently. The International Institute of New England does an open mic event where if you have any refugee story or a story about migrating, it can be yours or passed down through your family, but you can go and raise awareness for where you come from and what happens there, and it's just a support group if you want it. You can see it on YouTube, it's pretty cool. To conclude this, I really wanted this project to help me understand how to start the research and writing for change, so that people, when they listen to or read what I write, they can understand what other people go through and empathize with them. And I hope it inspires you guys to understand the hardships of those who come as refugees a little better. And I hope you guys volunteer. Any questions? Thank you.